Hi, I'm Chris Witzgall, Product Manager with Balmar, and today I'd like to give you a brief overview of the Balmar product line and maybe give you some insights into how to sell and specify a Balmar solution. Before I do that, a little bit of intro to Balmar. We're based in Huntsville, Alabama, and we have a location in Washington State where we originated. However, Balmar originally started 35 years ago selling all kinds of stuff, stoves, cabin heaters, water heaters, the like, cook stoves, but they quickly found the niche in the high output alternator and regulator business where they were pioneers in establishing or creating multi-stage chargers for alternators. And that's where we, solidified our reputation in the industry that we have today. So the alternators we produce are manufactured in 12, 24, and 48 volt variants, ranging from 60 to 310 amps. And they are controlled by external regulators. And this is the sort of the technology behind an alternator solution from Balmar, and why we can do what we do. These external regulators, again, are paired up and married with the alternators, depending on the application. We also have an award-winning battery monitor, the SG200, which is unique in the industry. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then, of course, supporting products that allow us to sell through and support the Balmar solution. So why would you consider a Balmar Smart Regulation? So to understand that fully, you need to look at what an internally regulated alternator, one that might be stock on an engine, looks like. And it has an internal regulator. It is a single stage, so it only has one charging voltage, which is a compromise. It is lower than is optimal for charging at the fastest rate possible, and it is higher than sometimes is healthy for the batteries for long-term charging. So again, it's a compromise. And that's because it's really designed to charge a starting battery where there's really no discharge of any sort, and you're just maintaining a battery. And deep cycle battery use is different, so it requires a different solution. Finally, in this solution, when you're talking about a single stage regulator, that voltage is not high enough often to knock off the sulfinization of the plates. Over time, these will become hard, and you want to have a high enough voltage that they're knocked off the plates before they do so. So it's healthier for the batteries with a multi-stage regulator, which is what Balmar is all about. So these regulators allow you to charge at multiple stages, or sort of like a shore power charger works. And they function, essentially the three major stages you want to think about are bulk, absorption, and float. Bulk is charging at the highest voltage you can to get the most current into the batteries and charge them up as quickly as you can. And once the batteries start getting to a certain fullness, the battery's resistance rises, and then absorption stage starts, where the voltage is kept, but the current drops. And when it drops sufficiently low enough, we consider the battery's full. And at that point, knock down to a much lower float voltage. And that voltage is designed to be run safely, continuously, without harming the batteries. So Balmar has four major tiers of alternators. The first is our light duty cycle or small frame. These are our 6 series, which is our most popular selling products for years. The new XT and our AT series are also small frame alternators. Next up we have our mid-duty large frame, the 94 and 95 series. We have a 97 EHD, which is an extended full-time running continuous duty alternator in 12 or 24 volts. We have our exciting new 96 series, which is a 48 volt alternator, and it has a matching regulator that provides either 60 or 100 amps at 48 volts. So an awful lot of power in a relatively compact solution for the burgeoning 48 volt battery market. Then lastly, we have our 98 series, which is a extra large frame, brushless design. The Coast Guard, for instance, uses U.S. Coast Guard 3 of these in each of their 47-foot surf boats, providing lots of power in continuous hazardous environments. So when you're specifying a Balmar system, it's a consultative process. You want to ask questions. You try to find out what they're after. So often it's just better, faster charging. They might be upgrading their battery banks to a newer AGM or lithium chemistry and need to upgrade their charging systems appropriately. And they might be looking for a boost in reliability. We can help with all of that. There are some specific problems that they may be trying to overcome. Again, they might not be fully charging their batteries often enough and short-lifing them because of that. They may not be keeping up with the loads at all. This is happening a lot in the wakeboat market, where all the consumers, the stern thrusters, big stereo systems, ballast tanks and such, mean literally at idle, the battery, the alternator just can't keep up, and so we have a solution for that. They may have a chemistry compatibility issue. Again, if you're switching to lithium, generally the stock alternator just is not the right alternator for that solution. It's not going to be the right voltages and protections. And they have maybe a search again to overall keep or increase the reliability of their system while adding more power. So you need to know a few things. You need to know the engine size, make and model, whether they're dual engines or not. We have a product called the Center Fielder, which allows you to charge from 2 engines, charging 1 house battery, and have them work together in concert as opposed to fighting each other. You can even have, we even have products to charge with 2 alternators on a single engine. If you have a Yanmar that's 2012 or newer, with a Vallejo alternator, we can convert that to external regulation in a very cost-effective way, so the owner doesn't have to buy a new alternator. This is really important if they've just bought a brand new engine. The Vallejo is nothing wrong with the alternator, so we can convert it to external regulation and give them all the Balmar benefits without having to buy a new alternator. So stepping back, you do want to look at the alternator mount, not just the engine make and model. Make sure there's no surprises there, no changes. And then, of course, the battery bank and size. And just know that if they're increasing the capacity of the alternator, they often will need to change or increase the battery cabling as well. It's important to note, if you've got a single V-belt installation, you're limited to about 100 amps of alternator output. And this is because if you go over that, you're going to end up with excessive belt dust and belt breakage, and it's just not a tenable solution. So let's talk about lithium for a second. If you've got a customer looking at doing a lithium upgrade for all the benefits which lithium provides, then Balmar is a great solution. So we have a number of features. Our MC614 alternator regulator has a program built in for lithium. It can be modified if the the battery manufacturer's specification is slightly different, but it's a great place to start. It protects the alternator with a temperature sensor, so the alternator won't necessarily overheat and become damaged, because lithium can accept just gobs of current, and you can run into a situation where the alternator is just asked to put out everything it can for a long period of time. And so you want to make sure the alternator is protected in that situation. So an external temperature sensor to the alternator is crucial with a lithium solution. But you also want to make sure you unlock the potential of lithium. If somebody's spending that much money on a new battery system, they want to get the power into the batteries and charge them up as quickly as possible. And you're going to do that with an externally regulated alternator solution. And of course, you want to maintain reliability while doing so. So a stock alternator and a big lithium bank is a sure recipe for short life in the alternator and burning it up in pretty short order in a lot of cases. So the takeaway is, if you're looking at a lithium upgrade, a Balmar upgrade is a slam dunk solution. On our website, balmar.net, we have a configurator. So you can select a specific manufacturer of an engine and then pick their engine, and it will actually show you what Balmar products may be applicable to that solution. So it lists it out, and you can pick actually the belt type. And then, so for instance, in this one, I picked just a single V, so it just gave me that single V option. If I'd selected a serpentine kit, it would have given me other options. They actually take you down to the product level. So this is a great way to drill down and find out what's applicable in the particular application. It's important to note when you're picking an alternator, you want to match it in best case to the battery bank size. So the rough rule is if you have a battery bank, you want to have an alternator output roughly equivalent to 25% of that battery bank in size. So a 100 amp hour battery bank, 400 amp hour battery bank, you'd be looking at a 100 amp output alternator as sort of the right sizing. You can increase that to 40% if you're looking at an AGM solution. And if you're looking at lithium, kind of the sky's the limit. There's no real practical limitations other than the physical stuff at that point. So if you are looking at one of those higher power solutions with AGM or lithium, or a large lead acid bank for that matter, you may want to upgrade the alternator past that 100 amp mark, and we have a solution for that. It's called alt mount, and it allows you to essentially convert a single or dual V engine belt configuration to serpentine. And you can do that with our patented design. It allows for a slip over pulley to be put on the crankshaft pulley. You don't have to remove it. And then of course the alternator, if you're buying a kit, comes with the pulley, and then the water pump pulley is replaced as well, and you end up with a multi-groove serpentine belt. And this also has the added feature of, or benefit of, being a quieter solution. So into the alternators a little bit. We're going to talk about the 6 series because this is the bread and butter. And again, so you can see the variants we have, and we have these in multiple mounts: 1 and 2 inch foot, 4 inch J180 mount, and a 3.15 inch for the Enmar. And they're available in 12 and 24 voltage, 24 volt voltages. A unique feature of the 6 series is the Smart Ready internal regulator. It's designed as a backup, so the alternators are designed to be externally regulated. But for the vessel or the RV that's going far afield, and they don't want to necessarily worry that if something happens to the regulator or the wiring, they have an internal regulator they can switch to. So that's what the Smart Ready is all about. And the 6 series in general are there for, for that owner looking for a good, modest increase in their charging abilities without breaking the bank. The XT is our newest alternator. It's a unique braided stator design, ground up redesign of our old 160 amp version, and it's a great alternator. It has really high output at low RPM. We're going to talk about that in a bit. It can run on both the Yanmar mount and the 1 and 2 foot mount, 2 inch mount. We have 2 variants of that are designed for gas inboards. These actually do have internal regulators. They're not designed or cannot use external regulation, but they've got set points designed for the wake boat and the ski boat market, and are wonderful for the like the Mercruiser inboards. Talking about the output of the XT, we use a rating system based on what we call saturated dwell tests. And that means that if you run up an alternator to a set range of RPMs, and at each point you let the temperature stabilize. And once it's stabilized, only then do you read the output. So that's how we rate our alternators. This chart shows it against a couple of Delcos that are representative of sort of stock alternators, and you see how much steeper it is in the beginning of the graph, and that is just driving home. We try when we design our alternators to excel at low RPM charging, and that is a design choice, and when we're designing the alternators to do it in this way. Because it's what our customers want. They want to see that high output, 100 amps at idle or fast idle, depending on the application. The competition typically rates their alternators a little differently. They use what's known as a sweep test. So you take a room temperature alternator. You put it on a test bed and you run it up and you measure the current at the RPMs. And this means that the alternator is not hot, which will limit the amount of current it can provide. So to give you an example, those same alternators, the XT 170 will put out just about 200 amps in a sweep test, but we rate it at 170. So a little buyer beware information there. So into battery monitors, this is Balmar's newest battery monitor. No, sorry. These are older battery monitors from the early 90s, late 80s that Balmar sold in the marketplace. But when we decided to get back into the market, we wanted to do something new and different. And so we looked at what's called state of health, which has been sort of the holy grail in the battery monitoring business forever. And the state of health essentially is showing you how the batteries have aged over time. All batteries lose capacity as they're used and they age. So we can show that as a percentage of the actual design capacity. So when you talk about state of health, the owners, a lot of them don't even understand what they mean. They just like, how healthy are my batteries? And they'll say things like, my batteries are in great shape. I know that because they're only 2 years old. Well, they might be 2 years old, but how do you know they're in great shape? Or I treat my batteries great, so I know they're in good shape. Well, how do you know that you're treating them great? So this is a way to find that out. So the SG200, which is our award-winning battery monitor, is a learning product. It learns and displays the state of health, which is best described as the age capacity of the battery compared to the design capacity when they were new. So a 100 amp hour battery that has aged and is now only a 90 amp hour battery would show a state of health of 90%. And we take that information and we apply it to the state of charge. Now, the state of charge is just a percentage, it's like a gas gauge, and you want that to show based on the actual capacity, the age capacity of the battery, not what it was when it was new. Otherwise, as the battery ages, it's going to get worse and worse in its accuracy. So the SG200 is unique in that all the intelligence is built into the smart shunt, which measures not just the state of health, state of charge, but also instantaneous current, time remaining, and it has some faults and alerts as well. But it's a learning product, so it relies on the owner charging and discharging their batteries, and over time learns the batteries, which is a unique way of doing things. And it has a bright color display. It's a 2-inch color round display that is sunlight readable, polarized glasses readable, looks great, is readable from a far distance, unlike some of our competition, and has been accepted very well in the market. It's also expandable, so it's a networkable design. You can actually have more than one display, more than one smart shunt, and it's unique in that way. So one note, a single smart shunt also has 2 auxiliary voltage leads. These allow you in a dual engine application where you have 2 engines, 1 house bank, and 2 start batteries to get voltage for both of those start batteries, all the goodies for the house bank with a single shunt. So you don't need to buy 2 shunts in that scenario. We also have a Bluetooth gateway, which my shoulder is just covering up there. You can see it. It is plugs into the SG200 network and allows you to monitor, configure, and upgrade all these products from a phone or a tablet. So you can actually, as we improve the product with the Bluetooth gateway, you can upgrade the firmware in these devices and take advantage of new features as we roll them out, which we've a very aggressive development project or program in place. So that's a lot of information, I know, in a very short period of time. So if you need help now or later, our website, balmar.net, is always available. You can get the catalog there. You can view all the product manuals, even old product manuals if you're servicing stuff. It's all there. The configurator, as I talked about. If you want, you can go to our support form and fill out a request. So if you just have a question about a product that you can't seem to find the answer for, and it's not an urgent matter, this is a great way to do it. It'll create a ticket in our system and you'll be off and running. Finally, well, not finally, if you have a more urgent request, you can go ahead and call our technical support line. They're there to help you. We have support reps on the east, covering the east and west coasts. And of course, you can use that email on the screen. You can also alternatively email either Frank Albin, who's our sales and marketing manager, his email's on the screen, or myself, Chris Witzgall, my email's on the screen as well. Thank you much. I know this is a whirlwind. I appreciate your time, and happy selling. Thanks. Bye-bye.